Hey everybody, Derek Judd, the Cowboy Criminologist, here with Cowboy Criminology. I hope everybody had a wonderful 4th of July weekend. I hope that you still have all the fingers, toes, and appendages that you had before the holiday. And if you ended up missing some, sorry to hear that. And if you ended up with some extra, that's probably going to be a different video for a different time. But I had a special request, and shame on me, I've kind of been putting it off just because the case is 4 years old, and it's been going on for half of forever, and some of you have probably already figured out which case I'm talking about. But, I mean, obviously the title of the video probably gave that away, so that probably didn't need to be said in the first place. Anyway, but it had been going on for a while, and I was so late getting into the case that I didn't really feel like I had anything to add to it. Lawyer, the behavioral panel, so many other channels have done really, really good pieces on this, and I really wasn't sure if there was anything that I could add. And that being said, to be fair, I never really tried. I never really dove deep into it. And so I spent the weekend thinking, okay, I want to talk about Sarah Boone because it was a viewer request, and I always want to do viewer requests. But I wasn't really sure how to go about it without retreading what everyone else has done. And so I started thinking about this in terms of, well, what if I had been contacted by the prosecution here, July 2024, and asked to give a criminal investigative analysis about Sarah Boone, about her behavior, and kind of help plan strategy. And that opened up a whole bunch of different possibilities. So I looked for the body cam video, and I found Law and Crime had the full initial body cam video of the first interaction with Sarah Boone after the 911 call. Now, for those of you who don't know, Sarah Boone is a Florida woman who's accused of playing a game of hide and seek with her live-in boyfriend. And somehow during a drunken game of hide and go seek, he got himself into a suitcase. She knew that he was in the suitcase, which kind of defeats the purpose of hide and seek. Left him in there, went upstairs and fell asleep. And the next morning, found out that he was dead inside the suitcase. So that really, as of right now, is about the only real knowledge that I have of the case. I wanted to make myself somewhat familiar with the case, but I kind of want to go back and I kind of want to just explore this case as if I'm seeing it for the first time. And I hope it's going to be helpful to you to kind of hear my analysis of what I'm seeing on the body-worn camera from the officers involved. And this is probably going to be a three-parter. There's a whole lot. The Sarah Boone case, as if a murder victim being found in a suitcase is not grandiose enough. Recently, last month, I believe it was, she had fired her 8th attorney in 4 years. And y'all, most of her attorneys, I was looking at the judge's ruling on this, and some of her attorneys didn't make it 6 months. I mean, some of them were appointed, and within weeks they were working to get removed from the case. I want to save that for a different video, and that'll kind of be the tie-in video, how everything ties together. So this video is going to be the body camera footage breakdown. The next video, I want to look at the interrogation, because there's a really good video that I found of her interrogation. I didn't watch a whole lot of it because, like I said, I want to give you my firsthand, unedited, unfiltered, what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing, kind of perspective. And then in the last video, I'm going to kind of tie everything together, and I'm really hoping that between now and the third video, things don't just completely explode. I think we're safe there. The judges determined that Sarah Boone will have to represent herself. She's released, she sent out a 58-page manifesto, for lack of a better word. And we'll get more into that. She made some good points, and she made some not so good points. But like I said, we'll talk about that more in the last video when we kind of tie everything together. So just as an exercise, let's do a criminal investigative analysis where we're brought in right now, today, here, July 2024, and we're gonna look back at how the case has progressed and try to help the prosecution build a strategy for dealing with Sarah Boone. Is a strategy going to be necessarily necessary in this case? I don't know, but this case has, this case is like, has turned into a bad daytime soap opera. It's just got a level of unbelievable that could only come from a bad daytime soap. So we're gonna go to the video, and I'm gonna start breaking it down for you. So let's see what we've got. So one of the first things you need to know is that police body camera footage, there's always a delay, whether it's 30 seconds, a minute, sometimes even 2 minutes. You get video, but you don't get audio until that kicks in. And so this one, I think there's a 1 minute lag between what's actually happening and what the recorder has picked up. So this is after the 911 call. I think you're going to see emergency services are on scene, coming through the apartment complex. Yeah, you start seeing fire and ambulance. Body camera kicks in at 1 minute.
It's signal 7, so it's going to be turned over to you guys.
Yep.
Okay, signal 7, it's going to be turned over to you guys. Signal 7 in Florida, the best I can imagine, is somebody on scene is deceased, and that's why it's, efforts to revive and resuscitate have failed. Now we need to figure out if there was any criminal what for. In Texas, we use the radio code 10-7, and when we're describing an on-scene death. Now, this creates problems because other places 10-7 is ending my tour, ending my watch, going off duty, something like that. So that's why 10 codes and radio codes have been highly discouraged since 9/11. In the FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Administration debriefing, they found one of the biggest problems on 9/11 was a lack of communication, because even within the New York City infrastructure of fire, ambulance, and police, they were using different codes. And a code for fire meant something different to police, meant something different to ambulance. And it caused a lot of mass confusion. Now, on top of all that, it's New York City. So you have law enforcement agencies from other jurisdictions flocking to try to help and not understanding radio codes, using their own radio codes, radios not being able to communicate with each other because they're on different frequencies, they're on uh, different brands, different programming, incompatibility with being able to talk to each other. All of those things contributed to mass confusion and chaos in a situation that was already fraught with mass confusion and chaos. Uh, so, as a general rule, the National Incident Management System kicks in an emergency. And for law enforcement, um, we're really bad about using that. We're really slow to use that. And fire, it does a great job of doing that. So, it is not uncommon for the emergency manager, the on-site emergency manager, to be a firefighter. They know how to coordinate. They use NIMS all the time, and law enforcement, we're slow to change. We're still using 10 codes to talk to each other, and for small scale things like, not referring to a possible homicide as a small scale thing, but in an incident that doesn't involve mass casualties, mass panic, this is more controllable. But a lot of agencies have started to prohibit 10 codes outright. And so, all right, that being said, get out of the way for ambulance and fire.
He was last seen last night, so.
You could get all your guys out of there.
What's that?
You could get everything out of
Wrapping
there.
up getting info. If you got a clipboard, I'll get you all your names and stuff.
Oh yes, thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to stop it right there. So this deputy, I don't know if we ever get her name. I'm incredibly impressed with her. She shows up. She's ready for work. She's already telling people, okay, if this is what's going on, we need to get everybody out. It's now a crime scene. We need to treat it as such. She goes to the back of her car, which is incredibly organized. And maybe this is just the supervisor in me, but I love seeing an organized car. This is an officer. This deputy right here is ready for work, and she's already taken charge of the scene, but she's done it in a way that lets me know that she's got some experience. You know, she's going to work it. She's going to process. She hasn't made up any preconceived notions about what's happened because she hasn't talked to anybody yet. But she's demonstrated that she's in control. She's in command. But she hasn't had to do this, I'm in charge, what's going on. She's not barking orders at people, but you can tell this is not her first rodeo coming onto a scene and taking charge, and she just does a great job. Okay, so this form that she's pulling out looks like, I'm going to go ahead and pause it right here. Looks like she's trying to identify everybody who was on scene. That's a huge detail that often gets overlooked, but she's going to want to know who was in the apartment. She's going to want to go back, interview them. What did you touch? What did you lean up against? What path did you walk? Depending on what all was found or the direction that the case goes, she may want to go so far as to take elimination fingerprints, elimination footprints, things like that. But my guess, my understanding is that that's the form that she's getting out, and she's going to get the information of everybody who's been involved up to this point. She's just ready to go. I love that. She knows where all of her stuff is. She's prepared. Now that's awesome, man. Fantastic job, Deputy.
Now.
She did. Oh, right there.
Did you call it? What time did you call it?
I get a time for it.
Hello there.
Okay.
You live here?
Yes.
Okay, I'll talk to you. We gotta get some information from the fire
That's
department.
the property manager. I don't know if I should go tell him really quick or just so
We'll
he
take
knows
care of
what's going
that.
on.
Where is he at?
And he walked that way.
Oh, don't worry about that. We'll take care of that for you, okay?
I had a cigarette lit.
I'll get it for you, okay? Wait 1 second, okay?
I really need something to drink.
Okay,
I got my Dr. Pepper on the counter.
Okay, we'll take care of you. Give me 1 second.
Okay, so I love how she acknowledges this person's request for a cigarette, for a drink, but she's also maintaining situational awareness and protecting the crime scene or the potential crime scene. This deputy obviously has a lot of experience. This is not her first rodeo. This is not her first time doing this. But I love how collected she is, how calm she is, and how, like, for her, nothing is a big deal right now. Everything can wait. Nothing needs to be rushed. And I think that demonstrates a level of confidence as well as competence that, as far as a supervisor goes looking at this, this is textbook. This is how you handle a crime scene as the first officer on scene, and just wow.
It's Armand too.
Put the time that
That
you called it.
Yeah, I put that right there.
That's the time you called it? Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
You can't go back inside. What's going on? Who is he to you? Boyfriend?
Yes, for like 3.5 years.
What happened?
He and we drank last night. We had a.
Can you pass this to the around to the SD guys? Stop. They need to sign that for sure.
They're with me, so they're not.
Oh, they're not leaving?
I
Okay.
think I'll walk around.
No. Each of them has to, because this might be a real scene. So each of them has to put their name in.
Normally I just put everybody.
Did y'all catch that? Each of them has to sign it because this could be a real scene. She's already going into this with the idea that this is a suspicious death, okay? Which, outside of a hospital, law enforcement officers are always taught to view a non-physician attended death as suspicious. Even if it's what most people would call an apparent suicide or an obvious suicide, you always work it as a homicide. And the idea behind that is that if you work it as a homicide from the beginning, you don't miss details in collecting evidence, in doing interviews, one thing or another, that don't lead to a false conclusion.
What's going on?
So
I just got here, so fill me in.
No problem. Like, he and I were putting a puzzle together. We've been doing some artwork together.
You are putting a puzzle together?
Yes, we have a puzzle that we started in there.
Okay.
We've been doing art, trying to take the stuff off the wall to make new art put up there, like having a good time with one another. But we're drinking. We had a bottle of wine last night.
Okay.
So then it's like, we decided to play hide and seek, right?
Okay.
So he gets in the suitcase, okay?
Who is this guy?
That's my ex-husband, my former husband.
How did he lives here with you guys?
No, I called him over here.
Okay.
I didn't know what to do.
Okay.
I didn't know what to do.
Okay.
So then he came over here.
Here, let's talk in private, okay?
Okay. So this right here is something that is going to need to be investigated because she calls her ex-husband. And the timing of that call is very important. Now, I have this argument with a lot of people watching crime procedurals or crime movies where something happens that is easily explainable if people will just call 911 at the get-go and immediately get help. And the argument always seems to be, well, people don't always act rationally in an emergency. I get that. But y'all got to realize a lot of these TV shows, a lot of these procedurals, a lot of these crime thriller movies, they'd be over in the first 15, 20 minutes if somebody would just call 911 and say, hey, this happened, I need some help. Now, in the homicide investigation classes that I've taken, one of the things you always want to look for is the order in which notifications were made. Who was called first? How long between a call to an ex-husband, another family member, and 911 is there? Why is the ex called first? What's the relationship there? That's also going to have to be investigated. It wouldn't be uncommon for a child, for a teenager, a young adult to call a family member first before they called 911. So it does happen. But that's what I'm going to call the first suspicious thing I see, and that's something that I'm going to want
you
to
guys.
answer.
I tried giving her CPR. The problem is I fell asleep.
When did you do CPR?
This morning when I found it.
Before you called?
Yes.
It's 1 o'clock right now.
I tried. I was awake, but I actually got out of the bed at like 12:30ish, whatever. So I came downstairs and I was like, oh, he's in the suitcase.
Boom. It's 1 o'clock right now. You did it this morning. All right. Great question from a veteran investigator. I have to believe that she's got a lot of experience because that's just not a question that a patrol officer just off of FTO is going to know to ask or think to ask. So she didn't. They played hide and seek last night. She gets up this morning, performs CPR, and now it's 1 o'clock. So there's a lot of time. So let's see where this leads us.
That's when I found him and I took him out and I tried doing CPR and then I called him and then I called
She got up at
Did you
12:30.
here before the fire department got here?
Who?
Your husband or
Yes.
your ex-husband?
Yes.
Okay. Where does he live at?
Right down the street.
Okay. So you were playing and who zipped him up in?
I did, but then I fell asleep.
Okay. You're okay. I wasn't here. I'm just trying to figure out what
I
happened.
fell asleep, so I don't know if he suffocated or like had an aneurysm or a heart attack or
What
what.
kind of medical conditions does he have?
None that I know of.
Nothing that you know of.
None
You
that
didn't
I
take
know
any
of.
medicine
No,
last night?
no.
No medicine.
All we had was a bottle of wine. Literally, just a bottle of wine.
Okay.
Doing puzzle artwork. Then we decided to play hide and seek. That's all that happened.
Okay.
So I don't know if he had a heart attack or what in there. Like, I don't know what happened.
So how long were you doing CPR on?
2 grown adults consuming a bottle of wine. Now, from my bartending experience, I can tell you that a bottle of wine split between 2 adults is 2 glasses each, provided they were sharing fairly. Unless it was a Magnum, and a Magnum would hold significantly more. But if it's an average bottle of wine and it was consumed throughout the evening by 2 full-grown adults with no medical issues, I find it difficult to think that their judgment would have been that impaired. Now, some people can start to feel silly after a couple of drinks. But right there, that's something that kind of stands out. So that's going to be the second thing I'm going to say stands out to me, is that amount of alcohol leading to this with no medical conditions, no other medication, no other substances being introduced.
You tried that all morning?
Yes.
Okay.
And then I called him while I was
What
doing
time
CPR.
did you start? Probably, give me a rough ballpark. Here, let me fill this deputy in, okay?
Please, may I have my Dr. Pepper? I am
Hold on,
so
one
cotton
second,
mouth
one
right
second.
now.
Ma'am, and you can't talk to him until we get done with
fine.
this, sir, okay?
Just don't leave, okay, Brian?
Thank you, ma'am.
Well,
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I'll get Lucas eventually.
I know.
Do me a favor. Stand over there by that car. Give me 1 second. Just give us a second, okay? We gotta...
Somebody else on that call it's on the counter.
I can't...
This deputy's awareness of the crime scene and her instructions, they're clear, they're concise, they're easy to follow. She's totally in fact finding mode right now, but above and beyond all that, she just has this awareness of what's going on at the crime scene. Who she knows where everybody is. She knows who can talk to who, and I mean, it's just, man, that's awesome.
Here, I want you to sit down because I don't want you passing out, because this is probably a lot for you to deal with, right? Sit. I don't
water. Just water.
I can get you some water, okay? Just, I want you not on your feet because I don't want you passing out on me.
I need water.
Okay, I'll get some for you.
222 Charlie, put you on it.
See, that was a good catch right there. She went inside. I think she was going inside, but then she thought, it's a crime scene. You can't take anything out of there. That Dr. Pepper, it could be laced with something. Leonard Lake, who was a serial killer with his partner Charles Ng, was arrested, and while he was being interrogated, he took a cyanide pill that he had clipped it to the inside collar of his shirt and took that and ended up in a coma. 3 days later, he died to avoid questioning. So you never want to give a potential suspect or a potential witness or a potential victim anything that could disrupt evidence. And for obvious reasons, if y'all have been following the channel for any length of time at all, you can probably put the pieces together there. But this is good. I'm liking this. So she doesn't pass out.
Okay, so you don't live here in this house?
No. I live down in Lake Winata Cove down there.
Lake Winata Cove, okay.
Yeah.
So kind of tell me how you came here today, or...
Well, I had been calling.
Come down here, we got to talk.
I've been calling.
Out of earshot.
You've been calling your ex-wife or current wife?
Yes.
Okay.
No. Ex-wife. We've
Okay.
been divorced about a year and a half. About 11:30.
Okay. So she's been seeing this other guy for 3.5 years. She and her husband have just been divorced for a year and a half. Now, maybe that doesn't take into account separations and things like that, but you know, one of those things that kind of makes my ears perk up.
This is supposed to be her day. Her child.
Okay.
She's generally not very good about always doing it. She tends to drink.
They called back and said she was still there, or she came back at the post office.
Okay. So the ex-husband has just said that the wife has issues with drinking and it's caused some problems with custodial duties regarding a child. And so apparently he started calling at 11:30. So that kind of gives us an insight into character, personality, and prioritization of Sarah Boone as far as how she deals with her day-to-day life, day-to-day responsibilities. So based on this, I'm starting to think that there's a really good chance that there was more alcohol than a single bottle of wine.
Getting here or not today?
From school.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I started calling like 11:30, called every half hour or so, and then I finally got a hold of her at 12:49, which is when she told me what was going on and if I'd come over here. So I came over.
She called at 12:45.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or 12:49.
12:49.
Got over here, told her she needed to call 911, get somebody over here, and then basically she said she needed to go outside, have a drink and a cigarette.
Okay. So a lot of really good information gathered there. So that kind of fixes our timeline issue. And it's not necessarily so flagrant that there's anything weird or odd. He said he was having a hard time getting a hold of her. She said she didn't get up till like 12:30. 12:49 she calls him. He comes over. He just lives down the block. Has her call 911, and we're looking at. Oh, okay. I thought we could see the time on this, but it doesn't. It doesn't look like the time's calibrated properly, but that's okay. So a lot of good information there. But he also said that she's already had a cigarette and something to drink. So I'm curious where that drink went to, or maybe that's the drink that she put on the counter when she went inside with presumably the paramedics and fire. That'd probably explain a lot
Back out
of
the
that.
house because I didn't really want to
Who
be
called?
in there.
Did you call or did she call?
Well, I called. She called me back when I was on my way to make sure I was coming over. But I called her
Give me
initially.
1 second, okay?
But I called her
Do
initially.
you have water in your car by any chance?
I don't think so.
Nothing?
No,
Okay.
no, I don't.
Okay, so she calls, you get over here.
As a general rule, I always had an extra bottle of water in my car. Now, sometimes that bottle was frozen solid, and sometimes you could cook ramen with it. But there was water in my car, and that's not a dig. This deputy is just doing a phenomenal job. It's very impressive. It's cool from a supervisory standpoint to watch an officer with this much experience and this much confidence in handling a complicated crime scene. But that's just a personal what have you. And if any police officers are watching or any first responder, always keep a couple extra bottles of water in your vehicle.
I called her first.
Okay.
Trying to find out if she's going to be at Lucas. That's when she told me everything was going on. I got my stuff together, put the puppy up in his crate. When I was starting to drive over here is when she called me to make sure I was coming, and then I got over here right after
Did you
that.
go inside and see, and then?
I walked inside the front. I didn't leave the little.
Does that seem like a lot of detail provided by the ex-husband to anybody else? Like, I understand talking about what you did with a child who's presumably not old enough to take care of themselves, but you take the time to mention putting the puppy away. Now, obviously, to explain that, I want to talk to the ex-husband and just find out if he's normally that detail oriented. Because if he's not, the inclusion of superfluous detail in a witness statement can be an indication of deception. Now, like I said, this is a completely philosophical exercise. Obviously, we're not using this to testify in court or anything like that, but it is something that if we were doing in reality, we obviously want to take it a couple steps further.
Come on, step this way.
I saw legs. I just didn't really want to be in there around it, so I told her.
Well, just for the sake of the crime scene, I want to know if I were to find your footprint, it would be because you went this far into the house. So did you actually make entry past the threshold?
I don't think I ever made it to the carpet. I think it was just in that. I've been over here before.
Right,
so,
right. Yeah.
But no, I don't think I stepped past that.
That's awesome. Explain, if I find your footprint, why am I going to find it? Where am I going to find it? Explain it to me. And of course, he's saying that he's been over there before, which, yeah, I mean, every household, we have common visitors that come over, people that it's not unusual to see them at a home. So it's easy to explain evidence of their presence.
Okay. So,
I touched doorknob. I don't think I touched anything in the kitchen. I don't know if that really matters.
Yeah. Okay, so that's pretty much the gist of what you have. Well, sit tight for us. We're going to make a few phone calls and then we'll go.
Okay. So I'm starting to think that he's just kind of a detail-oriented person, but I'm a little something's not sitting right, and I haven't been able to rectify it just yet. But he's able to remember putting the puppy up, but he can't remember if he made it to the carpet area, if he touched the door handle, anything like that. So I'm starting to kind of waver on him.
Just has any medical issues or?
I don't.
Okay, but you've met him before.
I've met him before. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. They've got a whole fun history.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. You guys have called over here quite a few times.
For the two of them?
Yeah, he's been arrested like I think 5 times for crimes against her. So.
Really? Okay. I'm not familiar with. So, I haven't been here personally.
So they have he's currently on parole because of it. So.
Because of domestic violence with her.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yes. Last time he got whatever it's called, retrial something or other.
Domestic violence. Officers hate domestic violence calls. There's no happy endings for them. It tears families apart. The officers are never the good guys. And 9 times out of 10, the individual coming to post bond is the victim themselves. And this is unfortunately not an uncommon situation. I did a little digging into this and found out that both Sarah Boone and the victim had both had arrest for domestic violence, and there had been numerous calls on the two of them. So interesting. I'm starting to pay closer attention to his body language. There's a couple of things he's done that are kind of throwing up some red flags for me, and I'm trying to decide whether that's just his nervousness of the situation, or if there's something else that needs to be watched.
Domestic violence class. Okay. I know he was doing it at a parole officer, stuff like that. But I mean, like every time she'd have him arrested, the next day she was trying to get him bailed out of jail. So I don't know what it is.
Oh, she's getting water from the tap. Probably gonna pass out on it. Okay. Well, listen. Please do me a favor.
Voila.
I'll make a few
not a
phone
problem.
calls.
I mean,
where's your kid need to be picked up?
Lakeline Elementary.
How soon though?
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock.
I
Okay.
normally leave the house.
Let me try and get this going for you because I know you need that. Over here. Martinez.
So when body camera footage gets sent out, mass distributed, they will tend to block out what can be seen on a computer screen for a police officer. That's privileged law enforcement only information, and it's only available for law enforcement officers. And so if there's something sensitive, the video will be edited by the department.
Jorge.
Jorge Torres.
His birthday?
2/13/78.
And this is the boyfriend?
Yes.
How long?
3.5 years.
Living together that whole time?
Yes.
Okay. And your last name?
Boone.
Spell it.
Boone.
First name?
Sarah. Sarah.
Birth date?
10/10/77.
So, you've had a second to kind of collect yourself. Tell it to me again. You guys were playing last night, drinking a bottle of wine.
Putting puzzles together, doing artwork.
Doing puzzles, artwork. Okay.
Had a bottle of wine and then decided to play hide and seek. So he gets,
what time was that? Do you remember?
I mean, I know that I was in bed probably by like what, 12:30.
Okay.
Well, I went upstairs at least, and I fell asleep, forgetting that he was in the suitcase.
So you guys were playing the hide and go seek.
Yes.
And at some point you put him in the suitcase?
No, he got in the suitcase. So he thought it would be funny to be put in the suitcase. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to joke with you and I'll zip you up and make him, squirm a little bit, whatever it is. But then I fell asleep. I fell asleep.
Where was the suitcase?
Right where it is.
Right down there?
Yes.
You zipped him in there?
Yes.
Thought he would be funny, a little joke.
It was.
Okay. So we're playing hide and seek. You hide in a suitcase. He thinks it's funny to hide in there. You think it's funny to zip him up, and then you forget that he's in there. Off presumably 2 glasses of wine. You go upstairs. Now I could see maybe she went upstairs and she fell asleep, one thing or another. This would be a really good time to bring up some kind of intoxication defense where that would account for the lack of judgment, the lack of, or the amount of time that she was asleep, one thing or another. So we're starting to see that there's a lot of inconsistencies that are just going to be too hard to move beyond.
I fell asleep.
Where did you fall asleep at?
Upstairs.
In your bedroom?
Yes.
Okay.
Totally forgetting that he was in the suitcase still.
Okay. And then you came back downstairs?
This morning? Or this afternoon, yes, when I got up.
Ballpark, what time?
12:30-ish. I was awake, but I totally forgot that he was in the suitcase. He can tell you there's a lot of things that we have been going through. Jobs.
Yeah, he did tell me.
Life, all that good stuff. So I just totally forgot.
So you began to do CPR on him?
Yes. Yes.
About what time this morning did you start doing that CPR?
No, it was the afternoon. It was afternoon because I was awake, but then I finally decided to come downstairs at like 12:30-ish, whatever it is, and I was like, I forgot he was in the suitcase, and he wasn't moving, nothing was happening, so I unzipped him, took him out and started doing CPR on him. He was on his way over here. I called you when he got here.
Once he got here, you called us?
Yes.
Okay.
And air was coming out, and he was gurgling, but I could just tell by looking at him.
Okay. So I'm starting to see that there's, and like I said, don't take this as gospel, because this is very much outside looking in. And ideally, I would have had a sit-down interview with Sarah Boone either before or after seeing this to determine what her baseline in speech is. But the really high-pitched voice that she gets, and then it comes down to a normal speaking volume, speaking level, without any inflection other than what I'm assuming based on, 14 minutes and 20 seconds worth of video so far, is what would be baseline for her. But I'm not seeing any tears. And the hand over the mouth is a modifier. It's a self-quieting gesture. Like, oops, I've said too much. But like I said, this is a philosophical exercise. This is not this is not carved in granite the way it's always done. You need more information. So anybody who looks at a video like this and, says with 100% certainty that this is what's going on, without establishing a baseline for somebody, you don't know. But just looking at what we have going on here, I'm already starting to form some questions that I want answered. And I want more of that baseline, because this is the second time in this video so far that she's done that real high pitched thing and come down. But I haven't seen tears, I haven't seen shaking, I haven't seen anything that I would associate with that high pitch, with the high pitched statements that she's making.
Yes.
Okay.
And then the person that was on the phone with me also, I counted with him doing it.
And he's got no medical. He doesn't take any medication.
I don't know. Like, I don't know medical wise. Like, what I know, he doesn't take any medications whatsoever.
So there's some of that twitching.
The only thing, like I said, I don't know if alcohol had something to do with it, but we had a bottle of wine.
So there's that. I don't know. Like I said, that's why it's important when you're talking about people's body language. You've got to have a baseline, because I started to see some of that trembling in her hand, but she's also holding something in her other hand. And when something is asymmetrical like that, it kind of gives me pause. It makes me want to go beyond what I'm saying.
Here, I want you to sit back down, because I don't want
Can
you.
I have one more sip of water, please?
Yeah, go.
Denver, Signal 29, residential, audible, 13033 Island Bay Drive.
I'll do what I can to get you a cup, because I don't want you to have to keep doing that.
Maintenance didn't have a proper code cancel. The indication is the front door. 32 at 3075. The motor unit on the channel.
The cups are like right there.
Okay. 44 motor
Sit right here. Don't talk to the ex-husband right
now.
now.
I won't. Can I have a cigarette, please?
Ma'am, I can't take anything out of the house.
It's on the back porch.
Nope, all of it. It's secure, okay? I'll try my best to get you what you need, okay? Maybe one of these deputies has a pack from someone, sit down and I'll try and get you what you need, okay?
Just cut, please.
Okay. I don't want you on your feet.
You want cameras?
Yeah.
Where's the place to talk about?
Want to talk over here?
After we got divorced.
It's still Boone, okay.
Yeah,
and then your first name?
Brian, Brian.
Brian. And your date of birth?
5/27/75.
And your child is in school right now. He's not here with you.
Do you feel like the ex has had kind of a lot of freedom to walk around instead of just being placed at one location?
You got some water, good, okay.
Can I please just have a cigarette? They're on the back porch.
Not right now. We can't have you go and get anything. Why don't you sit in the shade?
So it's not uncommon for somebody in a traumatic situation to want something that's naturally comforting to them. Obviously, if you have somebody who's a smoker, this is going to be an anxiety-provoking incident. Yeah, they're going to want a cigarette, but that's not. Some people might attach a whole lot of significance to that. I would only attach significance to it if it was somebody who was not known to smoke. Remember, you're looking for changes in behavior.
And then he said, wait a minute. My ex-husband buying that cigarette and everything.
We can't let you guys communicate right now.
I know this was last week. Ask for one.
You want me to get a cigarette from him?
It's going to be really interesting if the ex-husband doesn't smoke.
Ask for a lighter. Thank you.
No problem.
I was going to have him arrange childcare.
Okay, good. For the child in school up the street. Okay.
Is my name on there yet?
No, sir, it's not. I need to get her on there too, and him.
Yes.
So they're en route already, probably?
Did anybody call him?
No.
Little communication issue, not really a problem. It happens.
All right, let me get homicide.
It's even as calm as this deputy is, it's easy to get overwhelmed by what happens, and that's why communicating on scene is very important. But the from the beginning, she's made sure to document who all's there and getting all the pertinent information. And obviously, this corporal, he's probably the acting supervisor right now. He probably assumed that somebody on scene had already called for a homicide investigator, and she probably assumed that the supervisor was doing it. And just like anything else, communication is key.
You're nervous. You have the anxiety. You're scared, right?
I don't know how to explain it to you.
It's okay. You don't have to.
I don't know how to. I'm just waiting for whoever, so.
I could tell you this. I'm going to be here just as long as you are, including my...
So it looks like we got another...
I'm welcoming this breeze right
another
now.
officer.
All right, so just bear with us.
I know.
All right?
If you could, like, give me whatever updates or anything that you know of, that's just how I work, so I know, like, kind of what...
Well, let me look at my computer, see.
I like how somebody's always outside monitoring what's going on.
We already got a detective on his way.
There's always this.
He's on the screen.
There's always this need that people, everybody on scene feels like they need to be inside. And while it's easy to understand the thinking behind it, there's a lot of important stuff going on right now. One of the things that I haven't seen, and I'm trying to, well, it's obviously a weekday, kids in school, so maybe everybody else is at work, but there's not a whole lot of people out looking around, trying to see what's going on. Why are the police here? Which with an emergency response this size, I find a little odd, but maybe not for the time of day, and of course different neighborhoods and stuff like that probably look at that differently. But if there's nobody outside, how are you going to know if there's anyone else that you need to be speaking to, anyone else who's a potential witness, more importantly, anybody else who's a potential suspect? So always have somebody on the outside and be ready to identify anybody who tries to figure out what's going on. Look for those people who try to interject themselves into a crime scene. So far right now, aside from being the person who found George, being Sarah Boone, had tried to do CPR, aside from all that, there's really nothing there. Nothing about this is setting off a whole lot of red flags other than her story. It doesn't make sense. There are certainly more plausible reasons for how this happened than what she's saying. But what I like about it is that the deputy we've been watching, Sarah Boone, has told the same story without fail like 3 times already. And the nice thing about that is when over a certain time, we're 23 minutes, 40 seconds into the video right now, is when you can get somebody over a period of time to commit to the same story, it makes it easier to find any provable lie. The problem with that is once you've locked yourself into that statement, like Sarah Boone has already, it's very difficult to go back and fill in those holes, because if she did it, if she killed Jorge Torres, which is exactly what she's being tried for, if she did it, it's very difficult to go back and have those have those gaps in logic, reasoning, timeline, whatever explained to you, and then on the fly try to fill them in. So,
Tony, that's my corporal. Pick it up.
so far, procedurally and everything, I'm liking what I'm seeing. These guys are good. These guys are good. And y'all know me. I'll call out bad police work really, really quick. Oh, wow. A lot of detectives there now. Clock's not set to the right time or something that always messed with me. And I kind of get that, but I would like to see...
All right, sir. My name's Chelsea. My partner, Scott.
I would like to see detectives wearing body cameras. And if you look at the way they're standing, this is a very typical triangle. So you have the deputy on one side, you have a detective just across from the deputy, and then you've got the main investigator right here. I'm always curious about different angles of the same event because I always want to see what those are going to show.
To my understanding, you reside here?
Yes.
Okay. Is it just you,
And George.
Okay.
And I have a 9-year-old. It's 50-50 with Brian, my former husband.
Your former husband. Okay. But you reside here with George, and then your son lives with you, or it's 50-50?
Yeah.
Okay. So from what...
Ooh, that's not a bad look. Or that is a bad look.
Told me.
Yeah, know who...
She explained...
Don't ever come on scene and not know who you're talking to. That's...
And around
that is not a bad look. So we know Deputy Rodriguez is... She's on her game. So good on you, Deputy Rodriguez.
To play hide and seek.
Well, we were playing hide and seek, and then...
Was your son home at the time, or...
No.
Okay.
No, with Brian.
Okay.
Decided to play, we're just stupid like that. Like, sure, we were putting puzzles together, we were doing artwork. You can see the puzzle that we finished in there, and then the artwork, and then decided to play hide and seek, just being stupid.
Okay.
So he decided to get in the suitcase. So I thought it would be funny to, and he was laughing about it too, to zip him up in there. I go upstairs and fell asleep. So this morning this afternoon when I actually got up out of the bed, I thought for sure he was downstairs on the laptop because he was being really
I thought it would be funny, and he was laughing about it too. She hasn't gotten to the funny part yet. So pay attention to those gaps in grammars, the gaps in grammar and the gaps in speech. That can be very telling as to whether somebody is telling you something the way they've rehearsed it or the way it actually happened. Now, like I said, there's not enough there to go off of and say one way or the other. What I am working towards right now is knowledge that at the minimum, we probably have a criminally negligent homicide. I would say that a crime has been committed at this point. I don't know that I'm ready to jump to murder yet.
But then I came downstairs and I'm like, where is he? Like, and then that's when I found him.
Okay.
I don't know what happened.
Okay. And then you weren't sure about if you woke up this morning
It was afternoon. I mean, I was
or
awake,
this afternoon.
but I just didn't want to come downstairs. So
Okay.
I just laid in the bed for a little while. And then I eventually came downstairs and was confused about where he was. And then I was like, oh my God, he's in the suitcase still. So I pulled him out and I stretched him out and I started to try to do CPR on him.
Okay.
I called you guys. Well, I called Brian.
Okay.
And then as soon as he got here, which is 30 seconds down the road, I called you guys.
Okay.
And the person on the phone had to do the confessions.
I will tell you this from my crime scene staging class, actually. And in that crime scene staging class, one of the things that we were always taught to look out for was a coincidence. Something that has never happened before and leads to a death. That is definitely something that needs to be thought of. Now, alcohol does not always bring out the rocket scientist in a lot of people, and we've all seen it. But I'm still kind of, I'm starting to put things together a little bit, because now she's starting to add more details that she hasn't added in the first 3 times that she's told this story. And while I would expect some details to start being fleshed out, hey, I just remembered this, or wait, no, that's not what happened, I did this first. I'm having trouble getting over that, well, he decided to get in and he was laughing about it too. That's almost like you have to believe me. You have to believe what happened, because you have to understand that this was funny, this is lighthearted, this is, and she's really harping on that, but she never finished that complete thought with the detectives on scene. And so now things are starting to pick up a little momentum where I'm more comfortable with criminal charges at this point, which would lead me to arrest instead of working up a case, giving it to the prosecuting attorney, and getting a warrant for arrest later if the prosecutor decided to go forward.
Until you guys showed up.
Okay. And so as a part of our investigation, we obviously have to go inside the house. We have to look at things. Are you okay with us
Yes.
going in the house and looking at things?
Yes.
Okay.
Another thing I forgot to mention is she mentions that he was gurgling before everybody got here. He was gurgling. You have to understand, he was still alive. Basically, had y'all gotten here quicker, this whole thing could have been avoided, one thing or another. So little things like that, those little differences in syntax, in grammar, unnatural pauses in a statement, all of those things start to work together to undermine a person's credibility. And when you're doing an interview on somebody, which is what this is an interview, this is not an interrogation. And despite what certain people in certain institutions will say, there is a difference between an interrogation and an interview. And if you don't know the difference between those two, you shouldn't use those terms. And if you don't think there's a difference between those two, your college degree was probably forged.
Investigators come out. Are you also okay with them coming inside, taking photographs, and
Whatever you need to do.
Okay.
Can I ask, is I'm sorry, George, is he diagnosed with any kind of medical history?
Not that I know of. I don't know. I mean, he doesn't take drugs. I mean, we'll have the occasional bottle of wine here and there, but I don't know, like...
That was going to be my next question. So you guys don't normally drink? You just drink once in a while, or...?
Well, I'm going to say, like, okay, I guess normal drinking is, like, we will have, like, a glass of wine or two, like, while we're cooking dinner. Sure.
You're with somebody for 3.5 years. You've bonded them out in jail. You've bonded them out on domestic violence charges against you multiple times, and you don't know if he has any pre-existing medical conditions, anything that he's taken medication for, anything he's gone to the doctor for. That seems a little odd.
A board game with him. I mean, all the games are in there. But, I mean, it's not like...
A couple of beers a day?
Well, but I don't understand, though, like, for the little bit that we had, like, if that had anything to even do with it. Like, I don't know if he had a heart attack or a stroke or an aneurysm or what happened to him. I don't know.
And were you guys together all day yesterday?
Yes.
Okay. Here.
Okay, that language right there, that's undermining the amount of alcohol they normally consume. But she's also very adamant that there are no drugs involved, and never drugs involved, and that could be that could be due to custody issues. That could be due to a number of them. And if you're looking at the most simple solution, there's a good chance that drugs just don't factor into the equation because their substance of choice is alcohol. But she seems to be downplaying the amount of alcohol that she does drink. And if I'm setting up a defense for this, I'm probably going to exaggerate the amount of alcohol that I had to account for my complete lapse of judgment.
The apartment yesterday?
I think he drove up to the convenience store to get cigarettes.
Okay.
But I mean, you can walk there.
Does he have any history of using drugs? I know he doesn't now because you said he doesn't, but
I don't know.
as far as you've ever known him, you've never.
No.
She keeps coming back to those three things: heart attack, stroke, aneurysm. Well, if you combine a human body into a small space where the chest cavity is incapable of fully expanding and retracting to take in a full amount of oxygen, that's not even talking about the proper ventilation for a person to be able to inhale more oxygen into that environment and expel more carbon dioxide out of that environment to sustain life. There's a lot of things there that's not jiving. But positional asphyxia is something that correctional officers, law enforcement officers, firefighters, paramedics, medical staff, they're all trained to look out for. Positional asphyxia, it can happen in a variety of positions. Certainly, a full-grown adult squeezing themselves into a suitcase would fall into that. And I would imagine that there would have been insufficient airflow and probably a buildup of carbon dioxide in the suitcase. But she keeps coming back to heart attack, stroke, or aneurysm. Basically, this has to be natural causes. Nobody dies from just sitting in a suitcase.
Seen him?
No. I mean, he's from Philadelphia, and he grew up in Philadelphia, and then he went to Massachusetts, and then from Massachusetts he came down here. So I don't really know like a whole lot of like medical history or anything.
How long
like
have you
that.
guys been together?
Almost 4 years, like 3.5 years.
You guys been living here the whole time?
Yes.
Okay. He's never been to the doctor or to the hospital during that time?
He and his brother got into a really bad argument at one point, and he had to have facial reconstruction. But he had been in the hospital from that, and then I talked him into going to see like a regular physician so he could get just like a regular like checkup thing.
Yeah.
But there were no red flags.
How long ago was that?
The surgery or
Yeah,
the doctor?
both.
The surgery I think was at this point what, 2 years maybe, 2.5 years. The checkup was probably a good 2 years too.
Okay.
And the
Facial reconstruction generally involves painkillers. I'm thinking Tylenol 3 at the minimum, because that is what I can only imagine, based on times I've been hit in the nose or punched in the eye, that, yeah, it's very painful. There's a lot of nerves. So, yeah, there would probably be some use of some kind of substance to dull the pain.
still in there?
Yep.
Is it normally stored down there? Or did you guys travel recently?
No, he was going to start putting some of the, what do you call it, donations in there. So that's why,
That's why it's out?
yes.
Okay. You guys didn't recently travel somewhere or anything like that?
After you zipped them up, did you move the bag around and mess with them at all, or you just zipped it up and walked away
And I both
laughing?
were laughing about it, but I went
understand,
upstairs and I fell asleep.
Okay. But what position was he in when he went in? Was he sitting on his rear end and his head up? And he just
That's not new. Well, it's new information, but it's a new question. So a question that hasn't been asked before, you'd expect it to elicit new information that hadn't been known before. Which great explanation about why was the suitcase out in the first place. These two detectives seems to be doing really well, kind of complimenting each other with the questions that they're asking. And what I like most is that when one's talking, the other one's writing and not interrupting or anything like that. So I like to see that. That's just good police work.
That's over?
Okay, so like this is the suitcase. Like this was his head, and then his knees right here, and his feet were down.
So he was laying on his side.
Yes.
You just closed the flap and zipped it around.
Yes.
Okay. So there was a little bit of that high pitched thing. I went upstairs and fell asleep, but it's not as pronounced as it was last time. So there's a couple different possibilities. Like I said, baseline is key when you're talking about neurolinguistics and body language, facial movement, things like that. So that could be an indication of feeling guilty. I went upstairs to go to sleep, and that's why she gets upset when that happens. But I also think it's a little odd that that's the only place that happens. And like I said, that could be guilt, and it's not really enough to go off of because I don't really have any kind of baseline with her. But it is something that if I was investigating this from the beginning, I would be really curious why that one phrase elicits that particular response.
I believe we were playing.
Understandably, okay.
So he said that I needed to tell you guys about his family. Like, who do I talk to about that?
We're gonna do that once we walk through
talk
and
to me?
see. Yeah,
We're not going anywhere. We're going to
I'm
be here
just
for a
telling you,
while.
like,
yeah, this is gonna be a
I'm
while.
afraid for my life. I want you to know that. I'm
Okay.
afraid
Why is that?
for my life.
So she said she didn't move, she didn't set it up, she didn't do anything like that, and laying in that position provided sufficient ventilation should not have insufficient ventilation being going more towards the question of the construction of the suitcase. But that in and of itself, that position, not being a doctor, I wouldn't expect positional asphyxia to be a big deal because they're basically saying that, you know, he just kind of laid down on his side, almost like in the fetal position, I'm assuming from the way they're describing it. And that should be a very natural position, very restful position. So now something else has to be going on.
Have never liked me. I'm the blue-eyed white devil, is what they call me. So they've never liked me. They've never taken me in. They've never accepted me. I'll put it that way.
Have you called any of them?
We talked to his daughters yesterday.
No, I mean, like, about this. Does
No.
anyone know? Okay.
That's
So no one's gonna know until we will be making that notification. So
they're gonna kill me.
Okay.
Do
Well,
they live local?
Yes, they're down the road. They're going to kill me. His kids are going to kill me in Philadelphia. They're going to kill me. This was not intentional.
okay.
And they're not going to understand that. They're not going to accept it.
We're gonna do a thorough investigation, and we will definitely make sure that you don't feel scared when we leave here. Okay.
And
when
my
we leave.
9-year-old.
Well, he's at school. He's with your husband.
I know. Well,
ex-husband.
Your husband said that, or your ex-husband said he made arrangements for your 9-year-old to be picked up.
Oh, okay, Mom. Probably. Okay.
Well, it's interesting.
Right, we're going to go aside if that's okay.
Yes, please. But you guys just keep me posted.
Of course.
So I know it's
Something that hasn't come up this entire time, and now all of a sudden, like I said, passage of time gives a little clarity. You start thinking about other things that could definitely explain this. Once again, totally philosophical exercise we're doing here, but that just seems like an outpouring of superfluous information. Is she really afraid of the family? obviously there's been arrests on both sides with domestic violence. I don't know. I don't know what to think about that. To be 100% honest with y'all, but I just it seems interesting that now the notification has come up. Now she's concerned about it, and it hasn't come up at any other point in the video, at least as far as we can tell. So that's a lot of information, and it seems to go to an extreme. They're going to kill me, not they're going to come after me. They are going to kill me. That's a very explicit statement.
All you have to do is get their attention if you have a question or you need to talk to us. He's standing right there. She'll be right here.
Yeah. Okay, but will you guys tell me, like, so you're telling me, like, you won't call whoever it is without telling me, right?
No.
I mean, I have all their phone numbers.
We're not calling. We're not making phone calls. We're actually going to speak to them in person.
Yeah.
That'll
be later
They're
on.
going to. Okay.
It'll
You'll
be later.
know prior to us making any
I'm
contact.
not going to be here.
Okay.
They're going to kill me.
Okay.
This was not intentional. I went back to that. This was not intentional.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Just say please, okay?
So I'm trying to reconcile some of these things, and obviously giving her a huge benefit of the doubt at this time. Remember, this whole exercise is based on us having no preconceived knowledge of the case and going back from square one. But there's enough there that I don't believe I'm getting the full story. And what I need to figure out is, am I being lied to? Am I being deceived? Or is the trauma of what's going on affecting her ability to communicate what actually happened? And that's the role of the investigator. So we've only got a few more minutes left, so let's just see what we've got. That's interesting. She just said, I'm having panic attacks, and the only sign of tension or anxiety has been needing a cigarette and that little twitching thing that she did earlier. That's been the only thing there. And part of that could be controlled by her sitting on the ground, but no nausea, no sweating, no heart palpitations. She hasn't. Panic attacks are debilitating, and a lot of folks think they're dying, think they're having a heart attack. And
They're coming out now. I'll get you somebody, okay?
one thing I probably would have done, had I been on scene, and of course, this doesn't change anything, doesn't take away from anything that I'm saying here. This is all really solid police work. And if you followed my channel for any time at all, I call out bad police work, and I'm just seeing good police work here. The one thing I probably would have done different is had an EMT get vitals and check out Sarah Boone, and just kind of keep an eye on her and figure out if she's actually having a panic attack, or there's a risk of medical emergency.
We're
You don't
here,
know
so
anything, though, like, why or how?
So we will not know the answer to that because we're not doctors. So what's going to happen is he's going to go to the medical examiner's office, and he'll have what's called an autopsy.
Yeah.
That'll be first thing tomorrow morning. I'll know a lot, hopefully a lot more tomorrow morning as far as him. But I cannot. There's no way I could say how, why.
So just by looking at him, like, why is he purple?
Oh, that's normal when someone passes away. Lividity, turn.
as soon as the heart stops beating, the blood starts to settle to the lowest points of the body, and then it just becomes very pronounced. So that's you just call it public bleeding. It happens every night.
I'm, like, really scared. I want you guys to know that.
Look around. You have all these deputies here, so while we're here, nothing's going to happen to you. Before we go and make any notifications, you'll have plenty of time to leave or do what you need to do. Whatever you need to do. Okay? And we can talk about that more at length. But yeah, it's not going to be a surprise.
Real quick, and then.
But like, I don't like. This was totally like not intentional. Like, that's what I'm scared about too. Like, hey.
We'll have all the answers. We'll have a lot more answers tomorrow after medical examiner looks at it. Like she said, what you're seeing here is common. This is us coming out to
Protocol.
the scene. Yeah, his age, no real medical history that we
I
know
know
of.
of.
For him to have passed away, we come out
I
and we
know.
do an investigation.
Yeah.
We come out and do an investigation. Medical examiner's office will be sending people out. This is what we do. If he was 75 years old and had a history of heart condition, we wouldn't be here.
I just don't know what I don't know what it is.
Exactly. And that's what we're here to find out. We're just here to get the answers. The answers that you want, the answers that his family's
I
going to
just
want.
really want to see my son. Like, I really need to see my son. I mean, I know I can't go anywhere, but.
Right.
So, do I just, like, sit out here and wait?
Run.
You would, yes, please.
Is anybody else having to show up? Or
I'm scared. Run. I won't be here. I'm scared about what's going to happen to me.
Show up when we call them, but we're not ready for them yet. So
These are all things that you got to kind of take them in context. But this is starting to sound like that we're starting to go, or we're starting to build up to intent, and it's very subtle, but it's getting there. And I don't necessarily think that she's so much focused on George right now as she is focused on Sarah.
Do you guys tell his family, like, today or after tomorrow?
We have to. It's the
By
law.
law, we have to go and contact the family.
Yeah.
They have to be notified.
Once our investigation is pretty much complete here, once we leave here, we will be going to.
But again, you'll know. We're not going to just go and do it without you knowing. You'll know. We'll talk to you prior to doing anything like that.
But how, I mean, I understand what you guys and how you do it, and, you know, so, but, like, what do you just tell him? What do you tell his parents? Like, what's the reason?
He passed away.
We tell them what we know at that point.
Yeah.
We tell them the truth.
It's amazing what she knows and doesn't know, and when and where she doesn't know it.
And hopefully the doctor will be able to give me some of what they think and see.
Yeah. We'll give them their number. They can contact them and get it from them.
But yeah, they're gonna know what we're here, what we're investigating, and that
They're gonna think I killed him.
Why would they think that?
They always have said that. They've always have said that.
What have they
I
said?
told you it's because I'm the blue-eyed white dragon. That's what they call me. Because they don't want him with me. So he's basically just not really been around his family because he chooses me over them. Even after I've encouraged him numerous times to go over there and see his family. They've never accepted me.
Oh, that's interesting. Usually, well, in Texas, it's common to notify the medical examiner or coroner before you get into your investigation and disturbing the crime scene. Different jurisdictions have different laws. In Florida, perhaps a paramedic can call time of death or determine that a death has occurred. In Texas, it does have to be a coroner or medical examiner or a medical physician.
Your phone's inside, correct?
Yes.
Does he have a phone?
No.
He doesn't have a phone.
He used my phone.
Different jurisdictional
So,
policies and procedure.
The only place I could go is over to Brian's house. So I don't think he'll have a problem with it.
Okay.
So.
Well, like I said, we're not going to leave here. If you do not feel safe, we are not going to leave here with you not feeling safe. Because then we're liable.
And then his ex-wife in Philadelphia.
Well, she's in Philadelphia, but yes.
There's going to be a funeral.
Right. That you're talking like days and weeks.
No,
I'm talking right here, right now.
I know.
So let me do my investigation. Let me go do this paperwork that I'm talking about because we can go back and forth about what ifs like all day long.
I know. Sorry.
I promise we're not gonna leave here for you and you not feel safe. Okay? I promise.
Please. Okay. Is this? I don't even know what to tell you.
It's okay. Just take a seat, have some water, give us a few minutes, let us do our thing, and we'll be back to talk to you. I promise. Okay?
Like you said, if you need us again, just let them know.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah.
So I don't think Sarah Boone's asking anything odd here. Like, what are you going to tell them? Are you going to tell them that I'm responsible? Are you going to tell them how he was found? All of these things,
Yeah.
Sit there and type. You're fine.
which
I have relief coming.
right there kind of raises the legitimacy of her concern. But when you hear things like that, one question that I might want to ask on scene is, have you ever made any threats towards George? Did you ever say that if he hit you again, you'd kill him? If he ever did this again, you'd kill him? If you ever found out about this, you'd kill him? Something like that. Did you ever threaten to strangle him? Did you ever threaten to anything like that? All of that could come up, and all that could be a factor in helping determine why she's scared, because in a fit of anger, rage, hostility, emotion, she said something that she probably shouldn't have. And that might be a clarifying question that I'd ask. But like I said, there's very little procedurally here that I have any issue with, and that's very rare, because usually I can look at a crime scene like this and start picking things apart. But very, very impressed. So they automatically expected that you were going to kill somebody. Why? What have you said in the past that makes them think that, one, you're capable of doing it, two, that you have the intention to do it? Why all of a sudden are they going to think you did this if you've never given them any reason to suspect that would ever happen? I statements. A lot of I statements that the I statements in this case are interesting so far, because every time she's referring to herself, she's referred to herself as a victim, or she's referred to herself as, just being this good person, caregiving type of individual. Yet when she talks about other people, specifically George's family, it's always very negative. But in talking about George, it's very neutral. There's no information to really know how she feels about him one way or the other, which is a little telling. But the I statements are starting to pile on and starting to lead me to believe that she is far more concerned with herself than Jorge. Like, if this was a legitimate accident and everything happened the way she said, I would expect her to completely be in pieces. Now, people do grieve differently. They compartmentalize one thing or another. But those shows of emotion that we've had, like I said, they're not consistent. And so I'm starting to think that, taking everything that we know so far, I'm starting to have concerns. There's just all this new information that's coming up all of a sudden. And like I said, everything is very much focused on her. All right, so that pretty much wraps everything. That pretty much wraps everything up. So, like I said, we're gonna continue to kind of deep dive into this. But I wanted to start from square one, and I wanted to be able to form my own opinions. Right now, as it sits, I would probably be comfortable leaving her there. I'm probably looking to file criminal charges, but I'm probably not looking at anything like murder based on what she's telling me. But if I'm sitting down, I'm rewatching this body camera footage, and I'm really listening what she's saying, what she's not saying, how she's saying it, her demeanor, her body language, all those things are definitely going to tell me that we need to follow up and do a follow-up investigation. Of course, there's an interrogation which will be the next video. But y'all, I know this was a long one. I hope you stuck it out. There's some good stuff there. I think the deputies on scene did a remarkable job in kind of keeping track of everything. But hopefully you can kind of start to see how when you're an experienced investigator and you have experience in dealing with people who have traumatically lost somebody or suddenly lost somebody, there are certain things that you kind of expect to see. And the fact that she's not displaying a whole bunch of emotion is not really the issue. It's when she does display any emotion, it's always about her actions, how it affects her. And so that's starting to lead me down the road that something's off. So anyway, y'all, I'm Derek Judd for Cowboy Criminology. Of course, I am the Cowboy Criminologist, and stay tuned because we're gonna have more about Sarah Boone coming up shortly. All right, y'all take care.